We start with defining what negation is. Negation is a process that turns an affirmative statement into its opposite, denial. So we have a statement that is affirmative, positive, and when we change it into its opposite, that we deny the fact that it expresses, this means that we are applying the process of negation. For example, when we say she is a nice girl, this sentence or this statement is affirmative, positive, while denying this fact that is said in this statement or in this sentence is done by making the sentence negative. In this way, we say she is not a nice girl. How did we do that? The general rule of changing sentences from positive or affirmative into negative in English is through negating the verb. And how can we negate the verb? Of course, we are going to add the not, this particle of negation, but we are not going to add it to the main verb. We need an operator in this case. If the sentence comes already with an operator, all we need to do is to attach this not to the operator. For example, you should sleep late. You see this sentence has an operator, which is should. And here all we need to do is to add not or to attach not to the auxiliary, to the or operator, and the sentence will become negative. So the sentence in the negative form will be you should not sleep late. But if we do not have an operator in a sentence, in this case we are able to add an operator by choosing one of the three dummy auxiliaries, and these are the do, does, and did. We choose one of them according to the tense of the sentence and the subject of the sentence. For example, I like playing tennis. You see this sentence has only a main verb, which is like, and changing it into negative cannot be done by adding the not to the main verb. So we need here an auxiliary in order to attach or to add not to it. So we can choose one of, as we said, one of the dummy auxiliaries or operators, do or does or did. The suitable one that to be chosen here is do, because the tense of the sentence is present simple and the verb is and the subject is I, so the suitable auxiliary or operator here is do. So we add do here, and once we have do here, we can add the not. So the sentence in the negative becomes I do not like playing tennis. As we have learned that for each rule there are exceptions, and the exceptions that we can find for the rule of negating the verb in the English sentence can be found in these following two cases. The first one is related or is found when your main verb is a verb to be. In this case, the verb to be, although it is a main verb, but in fact it can take the not and change the sentence into negative. So for example, when we say she is a teacher, the main verb in this sentence is the verb to be, and in this case we can add the not to the verb to be is, and the sentence becomes negative. So she is a teacher, the negative is she is not a teacher. Another exception is found when your main verb is the verb have, and here the verb have is going to play the role of a lexical verb, a main verb, especially when it has a meaning to own, or to possess. In this case, there are three different forms of negating such a verb. Each form is used in a certain type of English. For example, when we say, if we have this sentence, I have a car, in American English, they prefer to negate such a sentence by saying, I don't have a car. Okay, so they depend on the rule that says that since have here is a main verb, so we cannot attach not to it, so it is better to use an operator and the suitable or the correct operator that to be used here is do, because the sentence is in present simple and the subject is I, so the sentence in the negative becomes I don't have a car. In formal British English, in fact, they deal with have as if it just like the verbs to be, which means that the verb have here, although it is a main verb, but it can take the not and change the sentence into negative. So in formal British English they say I haven't a car, but in the informal British English they prefer to add got to be the main verb, while have will be the auxiliary. So the sentence will be in the negative, I haven't got a car. So these are the rules that we have to follow in order to change the sentence from positive or affirmative into negative if we have different kinds of verbs or different kinds of operators. Another thing that we need to know about the changing sentences from affirmative or positive into negative is that the negative words in the sentence, and they are going to be the operator plus the not, in fact they have two forms, either the complete form or the full form or the abbreviated, contracted or short form. And each one of them is preferred to be used in a certain type of English. So the full or the complete form is preferred to be used by native speakers in writing, while in speaking they much prefer to use the short forms, the abbreviated or contracted forms. How can we make the auxiliary and the operator abbreviated or having the short form? How can we shorten them? In fact, there are two ways to do that. The first one, or the first way, involves abbreviating or shortening the operator itself and attach it to the subject, especially when your subject is a pronoun. For example, he is not coming. If I want to abbreviate the auxiliary or the operator, so it is going to be his. So we abbreviate s into his comma or apostrophe plus s, and we attach this s with the comma to the subject. And you see here the subject is a pronoun. So the sentence becomes he's not coming. The second way is by abbreviating not and keep the auxiliary or the operator in its full form. And when we are abbreviating or shortening the not, here we are going to attach it to the operator to be one word. So he is not coming, it becomes he isn't coming. There's a very important note that you have to pay attention to, which is that there's no contracted form for am not. The only way to abbreviate this structure is through abbreviating the operator. So here, I am not coming. This sentence, in fact, has only one form in the abbreviated negation or contracted or short forms of negation, which is am not coming. In yes no questions, am not is much preferred to be used either in its full form, or if we want to abbreviate them, they should be replaced by aren't I. Okay, so for example, the sentence am I beautiful? Either we say this sentence in its complete form, am and not, they keep their complete forms, or if we want to abbreviate them, we are going to use instead of them aren't I beautiful. And this is, of course, this is what British English, while in American English they prefer to say ain't I beautiful. Another thing that is related also to the negative forms is the use of the assertive or non-assertive forms. There are some words which are mainly used in affirmative sentences. For example, some, once, already, somebody, something, sometimes, somewhere, someone, etc. And since they are mainly used in affirmative or positive sentences, they are called assertive words or assertive forms. So when we change sentences into negative, we can no more use these words. We have to replace them by other forms that are called non-assertive. So for example, some in the positive, in the negative sentence it becomes any. Once in the positive sentence in the in the negative sentence becomes ever. Already in the positive or affirmative sentence becomes yet, and so on. For example, we say, I have bought something. So this sentence is affirmative, that's why I use something as an assertive form. But when I change it into a negative, I will say, I haven't bought anything. So anything is the non-assertive form that should replace something. They have already arrived. This sentence is positive and has used already as an assertive form. In the negative, it becomes they haven't arrived yet. So you see, yet has replaced already, because yet is non-assertive and it is mainly used in negative sentences. And as I told you that you can find a list of the examples of the assertive and the non-assertive forms that are most commonly used in English on page 185 in your textbook. Please go and check this page because it is very important. The last thing we need to study here about or in this video about negation is the alternative negative elements. So we said that, generally speaking, the main element that is negated in the English sentence is the verb. But sometimes we can negate other elements in the sentence, like the subject and the object. How can we do that? We can do that by adding or making the subject or the object preceded by the adverbs of negation no or not. So are we going here to have a sentence with a different meaning? I mean, when we change a sentence into negative by two ways. The first way by negating the verb, and the second way by negating another element in the sentence, like the subject or the object. Are we going to have a difference in meaning between these two sentences, negative sentences? Sometimes yes and sometimes no. For example, when we say an honest man would not lie and no honest man would lie, these two sentences are negated in two different ways. In the first sentence, when we say an honest man would not lie, we are negating the verb. In the second sentence, when we say no honest man would lie, we are negating the subject by making the subject preceded by the adverb of negation no, while you see the verb is positive. So here, when we check the meaning of these two sentences, we see that there is no difference between them. Both of them, they express the same fact. Another example, I didn't see any birds and I saw no birds. Again, these two sentences, they are negated by two different ways. In the first sentence, I didn't see any birds, I am negating the verb, didn't see. While in the second sentence, I saw no birds, I am negating the object. Again, is there any difference between them? No. These two sentences, they are different in their negative forms or in their negative elements, but they have the same meaning. However, as we said that some sentences may express or may reflect or may give us two different meanings when we negate them in two different ways. For example, many people didn't attend the meeting and not many people attended the meeting. Okay, so in the first sentence we negate the verb, we say didn't attend, while in the second sentence we negate the subject, we said not many people. So if we examine the meaning of each of these two sentences, we are going to see that each one is telling us something different. In the first sentence, when we say many people didn't attend the meeting, we are talking about the people who missed the meeting, who didn't come to the meeting, and we want to tell you that they were many. Okay, but in the second sentence, not many people attended the meeting, we are talking about the people who really came to the meeting, and we want to tell you that they were not so many in number, they were few people who attended it. So you see here, this or changing the same sentence into negative in two ways, by negating the verb in the first one and then by negating the subject, can or has led us to have two different meanings. So please pay attention to this point. You can negate a sentence in two ways, but not all the times you can have a difference in meaning. So with this, we have finished the first part of talking about negation in English, and in the next video we are going to talk about other facts related to this subject. Thank you.